Welcome to the Live Your Dreams podcast, where success leaves clues and someone has your answer. Joined with me as always with my lovely co-host, Mrs. Tia Mckisset.
Hello.
Hey Tia, first and foremost, how was your week?
It was great. How was yours?
It was really good. This week was probably one of the best weeks I had. I actually went to lunch with one of my mentors.
Okay.
Went over some great information. I actually called one of my mentors in North Carolina, and we were on the phone for like 50 minutes, going over some information. And also got a relationship back with my brother. So, been talking to him. So, just a real good week. And we went out with, of course, our family. It was about 30 of us. We went out to eat.
We went out to eat today.
So that was nice. So just a really impactful week. And every week just gets better. And I think that's the key to it, making life better, right?
Making memories.
So I think that's one of the great things. Because I used to always see pictures of, my family getting together, and I'm never in the pictures.
Oh.
Right? My excuse was I was always working or I was always busy. But, I'm starting
the older you get, you want to go ahead and spend time.
That's right, because you start to realize.
That's all you got.
Yeah, you start to realize that tomorrow's not promised. All you have is today. And all you have is your memories and your family,
Right.
I don't think when, it's time for me to depart, I'm going to be like, man, I wish I spent more time building. I think I'm going to say I wish I spent more time with the family,
Right.
So I'm starting to realize that and really trying to correct that part of my life, really spending more time with the family, creating memories, right?
Right.
So today we're talking about listening. And that's one of the things, and I think I really thank you, because I think I'm learning a lot about listening from you. And I think that's probably one of the best things I've ever learned was how to listen, right?
Right.
When you think about that, what do you think when you think about listening? What does that mean to you?
Well, I think listening is very important because, people need someone to talk to. And I know when I was going through situations such as anxiety, I wanted someone just to listen to what I was going through. Mm-hmm. That makes you feel better.
Yeah. And this week, I think I spent some time listening to people and really, I guess, being a resource to individuals. Because, you
really can help somebody.
Right. And I think
you don't know that, but it really helps.
Yeah, and I learned that from you, how to listen to someone. And, because people sometimes are going through.
Right.
And I think just to be there, to be that ear for them. And, if there's any type of recommendations or advice you have, and they're asking for that advice, because the best advice is when somebody asks for it. If somebody's asking for that advice, to be able to share it, So I think, I want to thank you for that, because I think, talking about listening, I've really learned a lot of that from you.
And you are really learning, because even in our marriage, you listen to me a lot. You listen to the kids.
Yeah.
And that's good.
Yeah, and because, back in the day, I didn't.
Right.
I really had, I think, would you say my belief was pretty much, figure it out.
Right, figure it out, or you'll feel like, well, I'm not going through it, so
right.
Why are you telling me?
Right.
Figure it out yourself.
Yeah, I think I think that was the key where I'd say like figure it out, and I think I'll be like
Yeah.
that was my thing, but
you didn't want to hear it, or you like, oh no, I'm doing something else.
That's right. It's like
I don't want to hear negativity.
That's right. I think I tried to stay positive, and I somehow, and hopefully this helps somebody, because especially if you're like a positive thinker, sometimes positive thinking can get in your way of helping other people.
Right.
Because you're trying to stay so positive for yourself. Because I know I didn't want to slip and go into anything, so I tried to stay so positive.
You thought whatever they was gonna go through was gonna get on you,
like it's contagious or something.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
But
right.
you really can help people if you just listen, and you can't be selfish and think, okay, I'm not going through anything, so I don't need to hear what you're going through.
Yeah. And when we met, we've been married almost 28 years now, and I never forget. I think you were talking to your sisters before we got married, and y'all used to use that word, like, hey, you're being selfish. Mm-hmm. And I've never I mean, that wasn't a part of my vocabulary coming up. Like, hey, you're being selfish. I didn't talk like that. But now I'm starting to realize that it's not about me.
Right.
I can't be selfish. Sometimes you have to listen to people to help people.
Right. You can really help people. They, after you help them with their problems, they so appreciative.
Yep. And I think I've learned so much just in the last week. It's like every week now I'm starting to learn more. I'm becoming better.
Well, as you get older, you start, thinking different.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the things. And I never forget, I had a colleague who was always listening to somebody and helping somebody. And I was like, how in the world do you spend your life constantly on the phone listening to people? Right. And I'm like, man, it's like you would get like down in the dumps if you constantly listen to individuals' problems. And I was saying, man, I just can't do that.
But some people enjoy that because it takes away from their own problems.
Yeah, and that's the key. When that's true, and I learned that from you. The more you help others, the less
you're not concentrating on yourself.
Right. It's not about you because you realize it's not about you. And it's so funny. It's like if you feed somebody else, you're going to always eat.
Right.
Because you're feeding somebody else, you're going to eat.
That's true.
Right. And it's just like giving. The more you give, the more that comes back to you. Right. And it's like when, and Tom used to say that. Tom say, if you have your hand closed, nothing else can get in it. Right. But Tom was and your father was a giver. Right. But he used to always say, the more you give, the more it comes back to you because you have your hand open. Right. Not only to give, but your hand is open to receive. But if you're so, I guess, stingy or thinking about yourself, nothing could come in for you. Right. And you can't receive anything because it's all about you. And I think, and again, I credit you for that because I learned that from you, how to listen to people, how to understand.
Right. That's how my father was. He would sit and listen. He sure all day long. He would listen to your problems, and he loved it.
Yeah, it's like he would, and it's like you wanted to come to him, right? Because you knew he would listen, right? Right. And I think that's one of the things. And I've never been like that, but it seemed like now that I'm getting older, it's like now I can listen to individuals. Right. It's not like I'm afraid or something's going to happen bad to me, right? Because I had so much trauma I was dealing with, right? So I think now that I'm getting that trauma out of me, it's just like spending time with my family now. It's like now my excuse isn't that I'm working or I'm busy. It's like now I can share, right? And I think that's something I don't know if I had to overcome some things or what it was, but now I am in a position where I can listen and I can share. Right. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's one of the things, and again, I credit you because I learned that from you. I definitely did.
And people enjoy you as a person when you listen, when you share, when you spend time. Life is about memories. Yeah. I mean, it's good to work and make money, but the most important is making memories with your family. Absolutely. And let's take a break real quick for our sponsors, and then we'll come back and we'll pick up right there about the memory piece. But let's take a break for our sponsors. Let's Short Childcare, short name, long in service. That was Tom Short's quote. And again, we are actually working hard to expand Short Childcare. We have some plans going. The name and number is on the screen now. Please call. There is a waiting list, but call today. Put your child's name on the waiting list. And again, Short Childcare is really working hard to expand, so some more slots will be opening up sooner than later. Right. So again, Short Childcare, short name, long in service. All right, Short Childcare. Now let's pick it back up where we stopped here, talking about creating memories and listening. Now, one of the things about listening, as I started to develop and started to work on myself, and I started to realize that I'm very emotional. Right. Right. And once you start to figure out when you start to take your emotions out so you can make some sound judgment, right, you can listen better because I think your emotions are not in it. So you could be, I don't know if it's objective, or you can really listen to make sure that you're giving, I guess, proper advice or guidance or recommendations or whatever you want to call it. But I think that's one of the things I had to realize too, to listen.
you have to somewhat take your emotions out of it.
Right.
Do you think that's true, or what's your thoughts about listening and emotions? Do you think they work together?
Hand in hand.
Okay. So do you think, I guess my question
and sometimes you got to put yourself in their position.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's good. That's
and
good.
kind of listen and say, well, what if I was going through this?
That's good.
You know? Because you're in a position where you're a manager at your job, and I know people come to you about their problems more than just, work stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's a difference when you're working compared to when you're with your family.
Now, with your family, you want to put your emotions.
Yeah, because it's easy to listen. When you're in the workplace, it's somewhat easier to listen. But when you're with your family, it's different. And it was more difficult for me to listen with my family because, again...
You thought it was contagious.
Right. So, and again, I told you I had that fear of poverty where, I thought everything was going to collapse and everything was going to come like I was on a house of cards or something.
Right.
But I guess I had to get past that.
Right.
So I think to be able to properly listen, you have to work on yourself.
Right. Everybody got different fears.
Yeah. 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 And I think we talked about that last week, talking about faith and, overcoming fears. But I think listening, because when you think about listening, faith, fear, whatever, it all ties together.
Right.
And life, it all ties together.
Right.
Right. When you talk about self-improvement and you talk about living your dreams and things like that, that's why it's like a podcast like this is good, because you may hear one thing that can help you out.
That's true.
Right. You may hear one thing that can turn some things around for you.
And then just us doing the podcast is like medicine for us.
Yeah, absolutely, because it definitely helped me.
Right.
But I think one of the things about it, when you think of living your dreams and you think about listening and you say, well, how does listening come to living your dreams? Because I think when you want to live your dreams, you want to be happy.
Right.
And to be able to have that skill set to listen makes you happy.
Right, because we're all going through trials and tribulations of life.
Yeah.
As long as you live, you're going to go through something.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you need somebody to listen to you.
I think that's correct.
And you want somebody you can trust. So it might be family that come to you for advice because they trust you, they trust your judgment.
Yeah,
they know you won't judge them.
Yeah, that's good. I think you're dead on with that. To be able to listen, you have to be trustworthy. Right? You have to be someone.
That's big if somebody come to you and want, your opinion on something.
Yeah.
Or want you to help them with something. Yeah. They must trust you.
Yeah, so that's good. So I think when you think about listening and you're thinking about some of those things like that skill set, because it is a skill set.
Right.
It's something you have to develop, right, over time.
Right.
Because, again, I don't know if you're born with that skill set of just to be able to sit there and listen to someone.
But the thing about it, you want to listen to people because you never know what you might go through, and you need somebody to listen to you.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I know a lot of times
we all need somebody.
Yeah, because sometimes, especially with you and I know sometimes I come to you and I'll just talk.
Right.
And, I just want you to listen.
Right.
And I've learned that from you when you talk, because sometimes when you was talking to me, when early in our marriage, I would just try to solve the problem. Like, hey, look, just do this. But then I realized that ain't what you want. You don't want me to solve your problem. You just really want me to listen to you.
That's true.
Right? It's not like that I'm here to solve your problem, because that's not what you want. And I thought in the beginning of our marriage, that's what you wanted. Okay, let me solve your problem. Just do A, B, and C, and it's over.
And then you got to teach your kids to listen to each other.
Absolutely. Because, again, that goes back to you and your sisters where you were talking about, hey, when y'all said, hey, you're being selfish. And I think that's the key, where when you listen to someone, it takes away all the selfishness. Because when I'm listening to you, it's not about me.
Right.
So I think to be able to have that skill set to listen, it can't be about you. Right. You have to just be able to listen and really listen to understand. I think it was Stephen Covey who said that don't listen to respond, but listen to understand.
Right.
Right? Because I used to listen and I used to, I know what I'm going to say next. Right? And I'd be just waiting.
Just like when I was going through anxiety years ago, I wanted you to listen.
Absolutely.
If I said something hurt or, something, I want somebody to listen.
Absolutely. And I think that's
or even sometimes respond and say, this or that.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things where it helped me because as we went through the years,
right,
I've learned how to listen. I've learned how to listen to understand and not listen to respond.
Right.
And I understand better on how to do that. Because, again, it wasn't easy for me. But now as I'm getting older, I'm learning how to listen to understand.
Right.
And really sit there in the moment and really understand what is this individual telling me. Right? Because that wasn't one of the things I would do in the beginning, especially early in our marriage. But I think now I'm starting to understand how to be a better listener.
Right.
Were you always a good listener?
Well, I remember one scenario when my mother said when I was going through anxiety and I would get on the phone and I would talk about just me. And she said, "You're very selfish. I mean, just you talking about yourself and what's hurting on your body, and you didn't even ask me how my day went."
And
so
maybe, yeah.
I've learned, don't just jump out there and talk about yourself and how your body feel, but ask someone else how they feel.
And I think that's probably where you and your sisters got that selfish from, because your mom showed you all about not making it about yourself.
Right.
And
she said, "I'm going through something totally worse, a terminal illness, and you talking about your head hurt or this hurt."
Yeah.
And when you think of it, I'm like, oh gosh, I feel crazy going to her complaining about something that wasn't even life threatening, and she was going through something even worse.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good.
So I've learned, okay, be quiet, and don't just get up there and jump and start talking about your illnesses and stuff like that, but ask people how are they doing.
Yeah. And that's a skill set. I mean, that really, truly is a skill set. And when you think about living your dreams, I always say success leaves clues. Someone has your answer.
Right.
It's about success is about becoming a better you.
Right.
Because I remember it was Jim Rohn who said it. He said, if you get $1 million, you better become a millionaire quick. Because the $1 million isn't the big point. The big point is the person you are.
Right.
Because if you get $1 million and you are not a millionaire mind, you're just going to lose it.
That's true.
But you have to become the person that can handle that.
Right.
Right? So it's about success. In order to become successful, all these topics we're talking about, you have to develop these skills. And I know listening is probably one of the best skills you can have. Because, I think it was Dale Carnegie who said he wrote the book How to Win Friends and Influence People. I think that's what it was. I read that years ago. But he said some topics like that on how to, be more, I guess, empathetic. Because that's what people want to be around somebody who's listening to them, man.
Right.
I don't think nobody wants to be around people who it's about, I think like you said, it's all about me.
Right.
Right?
No.
People want to be around people who know that I matter.
Right.
Right? You want to be around me because I got to know, you have to know that you matter when it comes to me. That's how a relationship works.
Right.
So I think that's the key to it. And I guess we could talk about this forever.
Right.
I mean, we could keep going and going on this. But we got to save some for next week. We can't do it all in 1 week.
That's true.
So again, but these topics are becoming a lot more interesting.
That's
and
true.
I think you said it best because I'm learning more. I'm becoming a better person. So I think that's one of the keys to it. So any closing remarks, Tia?
I mean, if you have someone that's going through something, listen to them. Talk to them, listen to them, be there for them.
Absolutely.
And don't judge.
Absolutely. And if you do, I'll see you. And yes, I do mean you. Living your dreams. Peace. That was good, Tia.